Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 6 p.m. on Thursday, the 29th of April. Before I start, I'd like to wish our colleague and friend, Chris Lomax, a very, very happy birthday from all of us. Okay? So thanks for attending this hybrid meeting of the Planning Committee on Thursday, the 29th of April, 2021, with some members and officers with me in the COVID Secure Civic Centre and some attending from home. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Councillor Caleb Tomlinson, and I am the chair of the committee, and Councillor Mel Donoghue is the vice chair. This is an audio and video meeting. It is being recorded, and the stream will also be live on YouTube. The web address for this is displayed on the agenda for the meeting. If you have joined the meeting because you are a member of the public who has registered to speak, please note you have a time limit of 4 minutes. You will be timed, and I will confirm when 4 minutes runs out. You should then finish, or if in the middle of making a point, wind up within a few seconds and finish speaking. Please unmute your microphone when I invite you to speak. After each report has been presented and any speakers have made their representations, I will bring the application into committee. If any committee members wish to speak on an application, you should use the raise hand function to notify our moderator. I will then invite you in order. Alex will repeat the motion before the vote is taken to ensure everyone is aware of what is being voted on. I will call each member alphabetically to vote, and Alex will confirm the outcome of the decision. Please can I ask all members to confirm they can see, hear and speak before the meeting begins. I will call you alphabetically. Councillor Will Adams.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Mel Donoghue.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor James Flannery.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Mary Green.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Harry Hancock.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor John Hesketh.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Chris Lomax.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Caroline Moon.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Christine Melia.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Phil Smith.
Yes, Chair.
And Councillor Gareth Watson.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, and our officers, Jonathan Node.
Yes, Chair.
Stephen Brown.
Yes, Chair.
Alex Jackson.
Yes, Chair.
Catherine Lewis.
Yes, Chair.
Debbie Roberts.
Yes, Chair.
Janice Crook.
Yes, Chair.
Linda Ashcroft.
Yes, Chair.
And Charlotte Lynch.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, thank you all for that. Do we have any apologies for absence?
None received, Chair.
Okay, and do we have any declarations of interest? No, okay. Item 4, minutes of the meeting held on the 1st of April 2021. I have the minutes of our last meeting. I've read them and agree with them. Can I have a proposer? Councillor Flannery?
I'll propose approval, Chair.
Seconder?
I'll second that, Chair.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, gents. Thank you for that. I will now call out each member alphabetically to vote. Councillor Adams.
For.
Okay. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chairman. It's just a very minor amendment, but a very important one on page 6, and it's related to the 121 land east of Reynard Close. And the very last sort of paragraph, the application be deferred to allow the applicant to provide revised drawings in line with discussions by the committee at the meeting. We also asked, and I think we all agreed, well, we did all agree on that, that the residents' views to be taken into account as well. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, you're welcome, Councillor Smith. We'll just amend that. Okay. So with the amendment, are we all happy? Councillor Adams?
For.
Councillor Donoghue?
For, Chair.
Councillor Flannery?
For.
Councillor Green?
For.
Councillor Harry Hancock?
For, Chair.
Councillor Hesketh?
For.
Councillor Lomax?
For.
Councillor Melia?
For.
Councillor Moon?
I'll abstain, Chair. I was absent.
Of course. My apologies. And Councillor Watson.
4, Chair.
Councillor Smith, did you want to come in?
No,
Have I not? Sorry? Did I not?
but I am for. I am for,
Okay, thanks.
including my amendments.
All right, do we have any appeal decisions?
None to report this evening, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that. And item number 6, Globe Mill, 17 to 21 Midge Hall Lane, Midge Hall, Wayland. Janice, would you present the report, please?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So this application relates to the Globe Mill site on Midge Hall Lane, which is within the green belt and to the west of the railway line. There is sporadic residential development along Midge Hall Lane. That just shows the application site boundary. So this is a view of the site looking across the lawn area towards the existing buildings. The existing car park you can just see to the left of the photograph. So Globe Mill consists of a large mill buildings and is a long established business producing and supplying pet food and animal feed products. There's also a shop which is open to the general public. So the application proposes the erection of a part 2-storey and part single-storey mixed-use commercial extension comprising of a ground floor veterinary surgery, first floor offices and additional warehousing, storage together with associated car parking area. So this shows the main western elevation where the extension is proposed. So you can just see this 2-storey element here and then the single-storey element. So the proposed veterinary surgery is at ground floor and this shows the internal layout. Although this introduces a new use at the site, it's considered acceptable in this location, particularly as there is already good access and car parking and the shop is open to the public already. The proposed hours of opening are 8 AM to 8 PM Monday to Friday and 9 AM to 5 PM on Saturday. There's no Sunday openings proposed. So this shows the access to the existing car park off Midge Hall Lane. And then a new car parking area will be provided to the front of the extension, which will be accessed off the existing car park. So there's the existing access off Midge Hall and then through the car park into the new area. So County Highways have no objection to the proposal. The car park and extensions will be constructed on an area of land which is currently given over to lawn and will increase the parking by 22 spaces. So there's 3 ornamental trees within the application site, which you can just see there. These are to be relocated. The arboriculturist requires a 2-for-1 replacement tree planting scheme and also tree protection for trees to be retained on site. Conditions have been imposed accordingly. So there's no objections to the proposal and the application is recommended for approval. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that, Janice. Okay, I don't have any registered speakers on this application. I have a member not on committee, the ward councillor, Councillor Michael Green.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, if you'd like to start, you've got 4 minutes, Councillor Green.
Yeah, certainly. I won't be taking that amount of time now. Can I thank Janice for the report? There's a nasty echo here, Chairman. Do you want to sort that out before I continue?
Yeah, if anybody's not muted, could you all mute your microphones, please? Okay, Councillor Green, is there an echo still? Echo?
Oh, well, Chairman, is that better? That sounds better. Thank you for that. So although this is a further development in the Greenbelt, it's an established employment site. The use is fit within Greenbelt policy. I support the comments of the planning officer and thank the officer for the report. I note there have been no formal objections from any members of the public, and equally, no members of the public have raised any concerns with myself as a local councillor. And I therefore welcome an extension to this site and the creation of further employment opportunities within the area, particularly in a rural community, where it's important to offer employment opportunities. So I support this application, but thank you for your time, Chairman.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Green. I will now open this up to committee. Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Chair. Just to echo the points already made by Councillor Green, I think it's a very straightforward application. Thank you to Janice for the report. I think it's quite comprehensive, and it's great to see a local business expanding in these difficult times, and I think we as a council should be wholeheartedly supporting that. So I'm very glad to propose approval. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillor Smith.
Yeah, I don't think there's any more to say on that. I'll just second that proposal, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Smith. Councillor Hesketh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and not a great deal to add, but as far as I'm concerned, I think it would complement the existing business, and it has ample car parking and so forth, and I'm sure that there is a necessity for a veterinary practice somewhere in that area. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I would go along with approval.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Hesketh. Do we have any other proposals? No, okay. So Alex, can you tell us what we are voting on?
The proposal, Chair, is to approve the applications with the conditions set out in the report.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Okay, we'll go to the vote. Councillor Adams.
4.
Councillor Donoghue.
4.
Councillor Flannery.
4.
Councillor Green.
4.
Councillor Hancock.
4, Chair.
Councillor Hesketh.
4, Chair.
Councillor Lomax.
4.
Councillor Amelia.
4.
Councillor Moon.
4.
Councillor Smith.
4.
And Councillor Watson.
4, Chair.
I am also in favour. Alex, could you give us the outcome of the vote, please?
Thank you, Chair. Members have voted unanimously to approve the application, subject to conditions.
Okay, thanks very much for that, Alex. Right, item number 7, 35 Huff Lane, Leyland, and the officer recommendation is that the decision be delegated to the Director of Planning and Development in consultation with the Chair and Vice Chair of Planning Committee upon the submission of a noise assessment report and the imposition of appropriate conditions if required. Linda, would you like to present the report? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Let's get it on. Right. So the application relates to the whole premises at number 35 Huff Lane, which was formerly occupied by Galloway's Bakery and is situated within the primary retail frontage of Leyland Town Centre. The application proposes the change of use of the premises from a shop to a drinking establishment. Number 1 Thurston Road is a residential dwelling house which is set some 51 metres away. So the proposal will include extending into the adjoining premises by opening up a dividing wall at ground and first floor. The ground floor area will provide additional seating and a storage area towards the rear. The first floor will accommodate a snug area over the existing drinking establishment and the kitchen and toilet facilities into the application property. No external alterations are proposed, but an existing external seating area is to be extended within the forecourt area fronting the application premises. No objections have been received, but Environmental Health have requested a noise assessment. And as the Chair has said, the application's been delegated to the Director of Planning and Property in consultation with the Chair and Vice Chairman of the committee upon submission of a noise assessment report and the imposition of additional appropriate conditions if required.
Okay, thanks for that, Linda. Right, I don't have anybody wishing to speak on this. I don't have the applicant, I don't have the agent, I don't have any members not on committee. Councillor Flannery.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks for the report, Linda. May I just add a comment here, really, in terms of the context? I'm also getting an echo here, see. Okay, thanks, Charlie. Yeah, just can I just query, please, in terms of the noise assessment, because it's a primary retail area. It's already a retail space, and the challenge to SMEs right now is quite considerable. And as Councillor Adams pointed out earlier, it's good to see investment in businesses, particularly small SMEs like this. So I'm just wondering why we're sort of burdening a development like this with the additional cost of a noise assessment. So could I just put that query to the officer, please, Chair? Thank you.
Certainly, Linda. Would you like to come back on that?
Yeah, Environmental Health commented that one was required to demonstrate that the immunity of local residents will not adversely be affected. But another reason was because the opening hours proposed in the application were Monday to Saturday from 11 a.m. till 1 a.m. and then on a Sunday from 11 a.m. to midnight. So that was the reasoning for that.
Okay, you all right with that, Councillor Flannery?
Well, I'll come back in. I think another councillor wants to speak at the moment.
Yeah, I must say, as the chair, I'm perplexed that we've had 4 recently applications for drinking establishments in Bamber Bridge. We haven't had any noise assessment requests for those, but who knows? Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, again, I mean, I did actually have a walk past the property yesterday. It is on the high street. You know, it is already a bar already. I presume, do we know, is there a noise assessment already been carried out on the initial bar? I mean, for me, I'm struggling here to understand when we're on the high street of, you know, the main high street within South Ribble, we are then asking for a noise assessment. For me, I don't think it's necessary. Residents haven't raised any concerns. I've also spoken to Councillor Matthew Tomlinson about this, who's also quite concerned regarding the need for a noise assessment. So I think if there's something we can do as a planning committee in terms of supporting businesses, particularly at this difficult time, I think we should be doing that. So I'm interested to hear what the officer's guidance will be in terms of getting rid of that noise assessment.
Stephen, would you like to come in on that?
Yeah, well, I would just say I think the message we can convey back to our environmental health colleagues is that the committee isn't asking for assessments in these sort of circumstances where it's in the existing built up retail area and where there's an existing use of the similar kind next door, then you would discourage or you wouldn't wish to ask for them in the future, and we'll relay that back and report back to you in the future. But yes, we had concerns ourselves when it's an existing establishment that we have to go through this further hurdle at this current time.
Okay, thanks, Stephen. Councillor Flannery.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, thanks for that, Stephen. I think, yeah, just adding to it, I think we've had this in the past. We've had it also in other areas in the borough, like in Penwitham. There's a bit of inconsistency in terms of opening noise assessments, etc. And I think when, as Councillor Adams said, we're speaking to Matthew Tomlinson, Councillor Tomlinson, he spoke to some of the local businesses, and I think the message is fairness and consistency, and I think that's what we need to get the balance right, really. So I'm also with the advice here in terms of what Councillor Adams has suggested of removing this condition.
Okay, thanks for that. Councillor Mrs Green.
Thank you, Chair. I think really my general concerns are on page 23, section 4.4 at the top, on the hours, proposed hours, and later in the paragraph it says, however, as the proposal is to extend the adjoining property, it's considered appropriate to condition the hours in line with those at number 33, which state they should not be open to customers outside the hours of 11 to 11:30, not midnight, not 1 o'clock in the morning, or 1:30 in the morning. On all right, New Year's Eve after midnight, I can quite understand it, but normal times, I think 11:30 is quite late enough in that area. And those of us who know Leyland know that from 11:30 midnight onwards, Leyland goes quiet and goes dead, and I think 11:30 is quite late enough. I think probably what the issue is about the noise is the fact that usually these drinking establishments start clearing the bottles and emptying the bottles into the bins, which can be quite a noisy occurrence, and especially with residents round there, it could tend to bother those people late at night. And I think really, if we're only after a noise assessment, those can be quite quickly done. It won't hinder the applicant, surely. And I think we should keep certain standards up, otherwise we're going to have a free-for-all on every establishment that opens, that they can just do what they want when they want and what have you. I think we need to keep certain standards going so that things are run properly and they're not the detriment to people who live in there as well. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Green. It's my understanding that the bin area at the Market Tavern is at the rear of it, and that adjoins the actual market. I don't think there's any residents in the market, but Councillor Hesketh. You're muted, Councillor Hesketh. Yeah, Councillor Hesketh, you're still muted.
Did you hear that, Mr. Chairman? My microphone went off for some reason.
Yeah, no, we didn't hear a word, Councillor Hesketh. If you'd like to do it again.
Well, I just feel that we should support businesses in the area, especially if they're willing to expand in times like this, Mr. Chairman, and I will go along with approval.
Councillor Adams, did you want to come back?
Yeah, thank you. I think the issue is in relation, just going back to Councillor Green, Mary Green, I think it's the cost implications of a noise assessment to the business, and I think we should be very mindful of that in these difficult times. And as I say before, that we should be supporting businesses wholeheartedly, and I think this is a very sensible solution. I would propose for approval, but although removing the noise assessment part of the application, if that's possible, please, Chair. Thank you.
I don't think it is, but I can ask for clarification from Stephen or Jonathan.
Well, I mean, as it stands now, the recommendation is to delegate it to Jonathan in consultation with yourself, but I can't see any reason why you can't just approve it as it stands. I'm sure Alex can confirm that, but that's within your power to do that if you wish.
Councillor Flannery, did you want to come back?
Yeah, just a very quick one. I don't think it's about standards. I think it's about fairness and consistency. And I do think an extra, which is approximately about £1,500 for a small business right now, is expensive. So to keep the standards, keep the fairness, and let's be consistent. So I will second approval. Thank you.
Councillor Smith.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Just to be clear what we're actually voting for. I mean, reading on the front page, it's got the officer recommendation, so we're just recommending We're not recommending approval or not. We're just recommending that somebody else makes a decision until you get to 9.3 in the report, and where it should the members be minded to approve the application. Which gives me a bit of a different message, really. So I'd like to be clear, first of all, what we're voting for.
Okay, well, you're voting.
Am I voting for 9.3 or am I voting for what's on the front page?
Just vote for 9.3.
9.3, okay.
If we approve it this evening and the noise assessment is carried out.
That's clear, yeah. It's just not clear on the front page, but okay. All right, I think I can probably...
Councillor Mary Green.
Oh.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. But just very quickly, are the revised hours then going to be enforced as to 11:30 Monday to Sunday? Is that what's going to be enforced in this application? Thank you.
Yeah, as you've got written in front of you, that is what is going to be enforced, yes. Okay, so I've had a proposer, Councillor Adams, I've had a seconder, Councillor Flannery. Well, Alex, would you like to come in on this?
Yes, Chair. Just a very minor point. Looking at the officer recommendation, it refers to a delegation to the Director of Planning and Property. I think that might be Mr. Node's old job title. It's currently the Director of Planning and Development. So I wonder if a member of the committee wants to propose an amendment and someone can second it so that the job title is correct.
Would anybody like to propose? Well, I'll propose the amendment. Yes, Alex, I'll propose the amendment. And I've got about 3 seconders here.
Yeah, well, thank you, Chair. So well, I don't know if you wanted to hear from anybody else before I outline the what you're voting on.
Councillor Flannery?
Yeah, I'm sorry about this, everyone, but I just need to clear this up. What I think Councillor Adams suggested and proposed, which I seconded, was the approval, Stephen, but based on it being delegated to the appropriate name, title, officer and the chair, but with a consideration of the noise assessment rather than the noise assessment being carried out. Is that right, Jonathan, Stephen?
That's what I proposed. Sorry, I understood it to approve it on the night without the need for the noise assessment.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But not delegate it to Jonathan, just decision.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. So I've seconded that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Alex, could you make clear what we are voting on?
Yes, Chair. It's that the decision is delegated to the Director of Planning and Development in consultation with the Chair and Vice Chair of the Planning Committee, and with the consideration of whether a noise assessment report and the imposition of appropriate conditions are necessary.
I don't think that's correct, Alex. I'm sure that Councillor Adams proposed an amendment to remove the need for a noise assessment, and it was seconded by Councillor Flannery. That's my understanding. Do you want to come back on that? Councillor Smith, did you want to come back?
Yeah, after the confusion, I'm quite clear on what we're voting for. It's been proposed and seconded, I have to say, so I'm quite happy to go along with that proposal and the second that it is removed from the report. And I think Councillor Flannery made an important point, really, with regard to noise assessments, which are really important in themselves, depending on where the premises are situated. On a high street with no neighbours, it's a completely different thing altogether. So, yeah, I'm supportive of it with the amendment to the recommendation.
Right, are we all clear on what we are voting for? We're voting for approval with the removal of the noise assessment. That is what we are voting for. Does anyone have any other proposals? Okay, we'll go to the vote then. Councillor Adams.
4.
Councillor Donoghue.
4, Chair.
Councillor Flannery.
4.
Councillor Green.
4.
Councillor Hancock.
4, Chair.
Councillor Hesketh.
4, Chair.
Councillor Lomax.
4, Chair.
Councillor Amelia.
4.
Councillor Moon.
4.
Councillor Smith.
4.
And Councillor Watson.
4, Chair.
And I am also for the removal of the noise assessment and approval of the application. Okay. Alex, will you confirm the outcome of the vote, please?
Thank you, Chair. Members have voted unanimously to approve the application, subject to the conditions recommended in the report.
All right, moving swiftly on. Item number 8, rear of Hilton Farm, 2 Jane Lane, Midge Hall, Leyland. Linda, if you could present the report, please.
Is it not moving on? Oh, it's just my slideshow's not moving. That's not, isn't it? Oh, we lost it. Where's your mouse? Where's it gone? That's gone right now.
Always do. Just go into
Yeah, I did that.
Just do it. Oh, it's disappeared.
I clicked that.
Yeah. It's disappeared, hasn't it?
But it wasn't
Go
moving.
into slideshow from current slide. And then put your pointer on.
Oh,
You got.
what will this mean?
Yeah.
No, it was just that wasn't moving on. It's sorted now, I think. Right, this application is being brought before the committee as the agent is related to a member of staff. The application seeks planning permission to provide a single-storey extension to the side of an existing existing agricultural building for housing livestock. The nearest adjacent residential property to the site is Hilton Cottage. And the applicant's property is actually set to the south of the site. So this is the area, the subject of the application, but this actual canopy has since been removed from the site, and also you can see that the site's been tidied up. And this is the elevation where the proposed extension's going. This is a floor plan showing the footprint of the building, which will measure 18.28 metres by 9.14 metres wide. And these are the elevations of the building. The proposal is for a lean-to extension to up to a maximum height of 4.9 metres. It will be constructed on a concrete base and will consist of a steel portal frame with concrete panel walls to a height of 1.5 metres with Yorkshire board profile cladding to the elevations and fibre cement roofing sheets. So this is how it will look against the existing agricultural building. So no representations have been received from neighbours. The proposal accords with relevant planning policies and is therefore recommended for approval, subject to the imposition of conditions.
Okay, thanks, Linda. Thanks for your presentation. As Linda just stated, this is brought before us because the applicant is related to a member of staff here at the council. Stephen, before I open this up, can you just give us some clarity on the relationship issue?
I think I mentioned this at last committee. It's getting more and more common for applications be required to come to committee because the agent submitting them is related to somebody within the council, and that's because of the way the delegated scheme is drawn up at the moment. And what I'm proposing to do is bring a report to the June committee to alter the scheme of delegation so that they're only brought to committee if the person submitting is related to somebody in the council that's involved in the decision-making process, so one of the planning team or yourselves, rather than just someone who might say work in Gateway or might work in Leisure, what have you, because you're getting a lot of these minor applications coming to committee and taking up your time. So that will be the report in June. Thanks, Chair.
Great, thanks for that, Stephen. It'll save us a lot of time. Okay, I don't have any registered speakers. I do have the ward councillor, Councillor Michael Green, if you would like to present you. Oh, just wait a minute. Okay, Councillor Green, if you'd like to start, thank you.
Thanks, Chairman. Good evening again, colleagues. Well, it's quite unusual to have two applications in mid-Jaw at the same committee, but it's nice to be able to speak, so thank you for allowing me to do so. With regard to this application, it's another application in the Greenbelt, but once again, the use which is being applied for appears to be appropriate for Greenbelt use and therefore can be supported. There are no neighbouring residents within a very close distance, so I'm not convinced there'll be any impact upon residential amenity. I've not received any objections from any residents or anyone else in the area, and there haven't been any received formally. And again, I'd like to support this rural business to grow and support the application by Mr Taylor. I would encourage the council to keep an eye on it though, just to make sure that it is used for agricultural purposes only and not for any other purpose. In the future, there have been instances in the Mid-Jaw area of applications then being used for other things. I'm sure that won't be the case on this occasion, and it will be for agricultural purposes only for livestock. But if the council could keep an eye on that moving forwards. But on that basis, I'm happy to support this, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Green. Councillor Phil Smith.
Thank you, Chair. The report is quite clear of what it's going to be used for, so I'd like to propose approval.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Smith. Councillor Will Adams.
Thank you, Chair. Yep, I think the report is quite clear. It's policy compliant, and I will agree with Councillor Smith and happy to second that proposal. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Adams. Councillor Hesketh.
Thank you, Chair. Pressure is being put on livestock farmers to isolate new entrants onto the farm, new animals, and not to mix with the existing animals. So this is a thing that we will see more of in the coming years. So I will go along with approval, Mr Chairman, for that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Hesketh. Councillor Green.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Actually, I think Councillor Michael Green has actually already stated a concern that I had, the only concern that I had, because I quite appreciate that rules and regulations about housing cattle and other farm animals. And obviously, if it's agriculturally used, no problem in Greenbelt. The only slight worry I have is, as Councillor Green's already stated, if there could be possibly a condition put on that it is only used for agricultural use, because historically in that area we have had a problem of agricultural buildings being used for other types of work being going on in there that has been, shall we say, it's been a bother to the other residents that are not exactly next door but in the near vicinity. So I just wondered if you could put a condition on that it is maintained as agricultural use. Other than that, I have no objections. Thank you very much, Chair.
Linda, would you like to come back on that, or sorry, Stephen?
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, I hear the point clearly, but the thing is they've applied for an agricultural building, so if they implemented that and they didn't use it for an agricultural building, we could immediately enforce and take action against that. So it's explicit in the description of the application what it's for, and we can regulate that subsequently. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah, thanks for that, Stephen. Right, do we have any other proposals? No? Okay, can we go to the vote then? Alex, could you just tell us what we are voting on?
Yes, thank you, Chair. The vote before members is whether to approve the application with conditions in the report.
Okay, we'll go to the vote. Councillor Adams?
For.
Councillor Donoghue?
For, Chair.
Councillor Flannery?
For.
Councillor Green?
For.
Councillor Hancock?
For, Chair.
Councillor Hesketh?
For, Chair.
Councillor Lomax? For. Councillor Amelia?
For.
Councillor Moon?
For.
Councillor Phil Smith?
For.
And Councillor Watson?
For, Chair.
I am also in favour. Alex, can you confirm the outcome of the vote?
Thank you, Chair. Members have voted unanimously to approve the application, subject to the conditions contained in the report.
All right, thanks for that, Alex. All right, item number 9 on this evening's agenda, Budweiser Brewing Company, Cewerdale Lane, Samlesbury. Debbie, could you present the report, please?
Coordinate my hands. Thank you, Chair. Right, as Chair's already said, the application refers to the Budweiser InBev Brewery on Cewerdale Lane at Samlesbury. It's a greenbelt site surrounded by open tracts of land, the nearest houses being on Vicarage Lane to the west and adjacent to the main entrance in the south. The proposal is for a tented storage and distribution warehouse that will be used class B8, for construction of a hard standing to provide for HGV parking, and for widening of the existing internal road, yard areas and associated works. Just to be clear, this scheme isn't related to the recently approved scheme for HGV development at the front of the site. This proposed, hang on, being too quick. The proposed HGV park will be north of the North Service Road, so it's around here, and west of the existing pond. 40 metres by 170 metres. It's fairly big, but it would hold 70 HGV trailers and 20 cabs on the eastern side. Originally it was 80 trailers, but it's had to be reduced to avoid a gas pipeline. Cabs are currently parked in any space they can find. Usually areas not designated for parking, and space is really at a premium within the site. Surface water drainage would go into the existing network, and there's no foul water disposal needed for this scheme. The warehouse will be an extension of the existing warehouse. It will be a metal-clad structure with a PVC roof, so a strong tent with a pitched roof to match the existing. No heating or lighting. It's carbon friendly, for want of a better phrase, and it will be screened by deep woodland from Vicarage Lane. The woodland sits at a higher land level than the 10th floor. The western circulatory road will be widened into the wooded bund, an area used for loading and unloading, and the secure boundary fence will be relocated 10 metres from Vicarage Lane. Lighting will be cowled, it replicates the existing, and it will face into the site. In terms of landscaping, this scheme requires removal of quite a lot of semi-mature and immature trees. They're all category B trees. The applicant has provided a comprehensive landscape strategy to compensate for the tree loss and a really strong ecology assessment. Landscape will bolster landscaped areas throughout the site and to the northwest and south boundaries, a mix of trees and shrubs, and all within the applicant's ownership. The arborist and the ecologist are both satisfied with the approach, particularly as whips would go in rather than large trees, which compete with the existing trees. In the long term, this is the best alternative, and none of the proposals will be visible from outside of the site. just drawing of the proposed tent storage extension. It's exactly the same as 3 which are already existing. They're on the right-hand side of this picture. And this is the agreed landscaping scheme. It's quite a busy slide. We've had no representation, and Salisbury Parish Council haven't commented. Statutory consultee comments have been addressed by condition or by amendment. The site is Greenbelt, but it benefits from exemption as a previously developed site, and apart from a small area, the applicant offers very special circumstances for development of a small area of woodland outside the developed area. But Greenbelt policy also offers protection to existing major employers and to support transport infrastructure proposals. We also feel that the benefits seen from this proposal far outweigh the loss of any landscaping in the short term. Officers consider it to be policy compliant and would recommend approval with conditions. Just one thing to note, you should have had an update sheet in the last couple of days. 4 of the conditions are now satisfied. The applicant has provided information relating to drainage, works to Brewery Wood and archaeology, which we've been working on since the agenda's published, and they're now being removed. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that report, Debbie. Right, we don't have any registered objectors. We do have the ward councillor, Councillor Barry Yates.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and committee. My name is Barry Yates. I'm one of the ward councillors and Lancashire County Councillor for the area. I welcome this application, and I'm sure that most residents of Salisbury will also welcome this application, mostly on highway grounds, as it will allow on-site parking of heavy goods vehicles that will remove the need for heavy goods vehicles parking on the highway waiting to enter the brewery. I would like to thank the officer for a very detailed report and all the conditions put on the site, especially protecting the watercourse and replanting of trees and shrubs. The improvements to the site will help to promote growth and secure jobs in South Ribble East. I can inform committee, as Lancashire County Council for the area, that highways are going to implement vehicle parking restrictions in and around the area to restrict parking on highways. Mr. Chairman, I ask the committee to approve this application with the recommended conditions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Yates. Councillor Peter Mullinor, the other ward councillor.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, everyone. So, just for those that don't know me, as was already said, I'm the other councillor for the Salisbury and Walton area, and I'm speaking on behalf of this application this evening. As I say, for those, this applicant, I feel, will improve the highway safety, which was already mentioned earlier, and the free flow of traffic on Cewerdale Lane, which is most welcome. County Highways have fully assessed the application and have raised no objections to the proposals, to the proposed development, and I've considered the summary of the responses on the report, and I'm satisfied with those conditions recommended in the report, and therefore I would ask the committee to support this application this evening. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Mullinor. Right, we have the agent, Dominic Page, on the line, who'd like to speak on this application. Dominic, if you'd like to make your representation, you have 4 minutes, okay?
That's great. Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members of the Planning Committee. I just wanted to touch on a couple of important points, as this development is of paramount importance to the brewery's wider investment strategy for Salisbury, and it continues to focus on improving operational efficiency and increasing its output at the brewery. Members may remember granting planning permission a couple of months ago for an HGV holding area at the front of the brewery to alleviate congestion along Cewerdale Lane, and I'm pleased to say that that development is now under construction. The brewery is also carrying out internal reconfiguration works to improve production capacity, and further planning applications for additional plant and external works are anticipated later this year. The storage tent that forms part of this current application is of critical importance to accommodating the additional production output, which is due to come on stream later this year. And the trailer parking will also assist the brewery in managing the arrival and departure of HGV traffic much more efficiently, particularly when combined with the holding area at the front of the site. I've worked closely with the case officer to ensure that all technical and environmental matters have been adequately addressed and mitigated where necessary. And as members will note from the addendum to this agenda item, the brewery has also provided adequate additional detail to enable works to commence immediately, should members be minded to grant planning permission this evening. The brewery welcomes the positive recommendation within the officer's report, and I respectfully request that members continue to support the brewery by granting planning permission for this current proposal. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you for that. Right, I'm going to open up this up to committee. I have Councillor Adams and Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Debbie, for the comprehensive report. And I go along with the ward councillors, Councillor Yates and Councillor Molyneux, in terms of supporting this application. I think this is a benefit for residents and also obviously supporting a significant employer as well within South Ribble. So I will be very happy to propose approval. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that, Councillor Adams. Councillor Phil Smith.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I mean, the traffic along the lane there has been a problem for many, many years now, and the brewery have worked hard in the sense of alleviating that problem, working along with the county council. And it appears from the report that they've got to move kegs off the premises to move them back to the premises so they can dispatch them. That seems a complete waste of time, and obviously the efficiency has been worked on there. It will remove some of the traffic movements, so I'm quite happy to second that proposal, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Smith. Councillor Flannery.
Thanks, Chair. Just a quick one from me. Just in terms of best practice, it's good to see the agent, Dominic, spell out the wider economic and strategic perspective, which is good to hear, actually. So well done, and it's a good application. So, cheers.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Flannery. Do we have anyone else on committee wishing to speak? So we have had a proposal and a seconder for approval. So let's go to the vote as slowly as we can. Councillor Adams.
For, Chair.
Councillor Donoghue.
For, Chair.
Councillor Flannery.
For, Chair.
Councillor Green.
For.
Councillor Hancock.
For, Chair.
Councillor Hesketh.
For, Chair.
Councillor Lomax.
For, Chair.
Councillor Amelia.
For, Chair.
Councillor Moon.
For.
Councillor Phil Smith.
For.
Councillor Watson.
Chair, it's safe to say I am bored. Well, that's low enough.
Oh, thank you, Councillor Watson. I am also in favour of the application. Alex, would you like to confirm the outcome of the vote?
Thank you, Chair. Members have voted unanimously to approve the application, subject to the conditions in the report.
Okay, thanks for that, Alex. Item number 10, Woodfold Farm, Grange Lane, Hutton. Debbie, would you like to present this item?
Thank you, Chair. We're back to cattle again. Woodfold Farm on Grange Lane is a dairy farm. It's part of a larger business at Mercer's Farm, which faces. Within the site are two related farmhouses. To the west is residential and Clare and Weaver's Farms, which are a minimum of 130 metres away. And to the east, there are residential properties, again, 60 metres minimum from there. It's a greenbelt location, predominantly farming on Grange Lane. The proposal is for a cattle and straw storage building to the southwest of the existing agricultural buildings. Okay, this is the building. It will be 37 metres by 12 metres. Standard, typical agricultural construction, concrete panels topped with Yorkshire boarding and cement board roof. No statutory or neighbour objections, and for the reasons set out in the report, we would recommend approval with conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, we don't have any registered speakers, we don't have any members not on committee, and we don't have the applicant or the agent. I have Councillor Hesketh wanting to come in on this one.
Before I start, Mr. Chairman, maybe I should say that I have a non-prejudicial interest being a local farmer as he is. But other than that, I have no other interest whatsoever. But what I would like to say, here we have an upgrade of a farm, a unit that some of the parts of the older buildings will be demolished. So you could call it an update in actual fact to bring it up to modern standards, streamline it and so forth. And secondly, the Slurry Lagoon is a mandatory obligation for farmers. They have to comply with it on their environmental limits, and I will go along with approval, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Hesketh. Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Chair. I will go along with Councillor Hesketh. He's certainly the expert in this field. It's policy compliant. I'm not entirely sure why it's coming to us, because it seems very straightforward for me, but I'm quite happy to second that. Thank you.
Which field would that be? The lower field? Debbie?
Yeah, just to confirm, it's a staff member's relation, that's all. But it's not Councillor Hesketh, somebody else.
Councillor Hesketh isn't a member of staff, Debbie. Okay, so that's seconded. Councillor Adams. Councillor Flannery?
I was just going to second Councillor Hesketh's proposal, so no, I'm done. So.
Okay, do we have any other proposals? Any other member on committee wishing to speak on this application? No? Okay, we will go to the vote. Councillor Adams?
4.
Councillor Donoghue?
4, Chair.
Councillor Flannery?
4.
Councillor Green?
4.
Councillor Hancock?
4, Chair.
Councillor Hesketh?
4, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Lomax? 4. Councillor Amelia?
4.
Councillor Moon?
4.
Councillor Smith? 4. Councillor Watson?
4, Chair.
And I am also in favour of the application. Alex, can you confirm the outcome of the vote, please?
Thank you, Chair. Members have voted unanimously to approve the application, subject to conditions in the report.
Okay, thanks for that. All right, we're moving on to item number 11 in tonight's agenda, Unit 12, 143, Station Road, Bamber Bridge. Catherine, could you present this item, please?
Thank you, Chair. The application is a change of use. I think it was a former retail carpet shop to a coffee and cocktail bar. And the first slide demonstrates the location of the application site. It's within a row of commercial premises, and it's adjacent to the junction of Collins Road and Station Road. And for the purposes of clarity, I've put the Bamber Bridge District Centre on the extract from the South Ribble Local Plan Policies map, and that's just to demonstrate that it is outside the district centre. The next slide is a close-up of the application site. Opposite is the public house, the Withy Arms, and then we've got a couple of residential properties here with some more commercial properties on this side too, and all of these here are commercial. So it's an established commercial row of units. This is a photograph just to demonstrate the location of Unit 2. There's about 3 units that form 143 Station Road. One of them's a hot food takeaway and the other one is the beer box. And here you can see the application site within the middle of those two, and this is the beer box. So the slide also demonstrates that they're single-storey units, there are no flats above them, and Environmental Health have recommended conditions similar to the beer box in terms of hours and restrictions, and the applicant has accepted them. It's recommended for approval as per the report. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thanks for that, Catherine. Councillor Flannery, did you want to come in?
Leave it's our turn to come in.
Pardon?
Is anyone else speaking before this? No.
Oh, sorry, no, there's nobody else wants to speak on this, sorry. I'm going to bring this straight into committee. I'm sorry, I wandered off a little then. Councillor Flannery? Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Catherine. Yeah, just to reiterate the point in terms of consistency and fairness, this is very similar to the application we've seen earlier, but there's no noise assessment required. So I'm going to go straight forward and propose approval. Thank you, Chair. Councillor Adams?
Thank you, Chair. Yep, I'd echo those sentiments. I'm happy to second that, and I think we should be consistent as a planning committee. And again, happy to support a local business. Thank you. Councillor Smith?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Whilst this is outside the district centre, there was some discussions some while ago, and you note from the photograph on there that all the new pavements outside and the curbings which were done as part of the regeneration scheme of Bamber Bridge, there was an intention to bring that into the district centre itself. That's just for note for the committee, but I will go along with the recommendations. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Smith. I actually class it as central Bamber Bridge personally, but it is the centre. Councillor Lomax, did you want to come in?
No, I have nothing to add. I go along with the proposal.
Okay, do we have any other members on the committee wishing to speak on this item? No, okay, let's go to the vote then. This is for approval. Councillor Adams? For. Councillor Donoghue? For, Chair. Councillor Flannery? For. Councillor Green?
For.
Councillor Hancock?
For, Chair.
Councillor Hesketh?
For, Chair.
Councillor Lomax? For. Councillor Amelia?
For.
Councillor Moon?
For.
Councillor Smith? For. Councillor Watson?
For, Chair.
And I am also in favour of a cocktail bar in Bamber Bridge. Alex, can you confirm the outcome of the vote, please?
Thank you, Chair. Members have voted unanimously to approve the application, subject to the conditions in the report.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Let's move on then to item 12 on this evening's agenda. Heatherfield Works, Church Lane, Farrington Moss, Leyland. Catherine, would you like to present the item, please?
Thank you, Chair. This is an application to vary a condition which relates to the approved plans, the variation relates primarily to the dimensions of building 2 in terms of the actual size of it is increased, and also the siting. Okay, the first slide demonstrates the location plan. So the application site is identified in red. We've got the Farrington Lodges, which is a bank of water, together with the properties to the northern part of the site. Church Lane is here, and these are the previous buildings that were on the site. So it's an established family business in Farrington off Church Lane. The site refines, compresses, packages, and then bags wood, shavings and sawdust. And this application, this slide demonstrates the extract from the South Ribble Local Plan Policies map, and that's just to demonstrate the site. Part of it was in the existing built-up area, and the application site that we're talking about is within the safeguarded land. So the principle of that site has already been established through the 2016 permission, and the slide also helps to demonstrate the residential properties, the ones on Church Lane and also Croston Road. The next slide demonstrates an aerial view of how the site looked. So previously,
The business was run at this part here and was in close proximity to the residential properties on Church Lane. Access is taken from this point, and the only existing buildings that are remaining on the site at the moment are these two here. We've got Farrington Lodges and again the residential properties. So following the fire in 2016, there was an opportunity to improve the working of the site and to address environmental impacts that adjacent residential properties had experienced, and these were in terms of noise and emissions from the site. The phase 1 was completed and the new building has now been constructed, and this application now relates to phase 2, the second building. So here you can see the fire damaged buildings that caused the redevelopment of the site. And again, this is a view looking north in 2017. These buildings still remain, and this one has now been demolished because building 1 has been constructed. And this photograph was taken on Monday and demonstrates the existing buildings that they're looking to demolish and to construct building 2 in this location here. And to enable the business to carry on whilst they've redeveloped the site with state-of-the-art facilities, we have this stack that has caused problems in the past. And this slide demonstrates the master plan. So building 1, which has been constructed, is located in this part of the site. The red edge that you can just see here demonstrates the previously approved building number 2. What they're hoping to achieve tonight is permission for a larger building here, and these then will become the external storage areas with the parking of the vehicles. There's also new native planting that would help to demonstrate and shield some of the building in time. And so they're proposing with this application to increase the planting as per the committee report. So currently, number 2 as per the approved plans, but the size of the approved building 2 measures 19 metres by 23 with a height of 12.6 and a stack of 15 metres. Now the proposal for this building that you can see will be 28 metres by 72 metres with a roof height of 13.6 and to the stack 14.2 metres. And again, we've got the additional landscaping. I'll demonstrate a slide in a little bit to show the elevations for building 2. But if permission is granted, then within building 2, raw logs would be reduced mechanically to unrefined wood shavings. These are then dried and transported to building 1, where they are further refined to provide pure wood shavings, sawdust, and where they're also bagged. So currently, the roller shutter door is open for 2 minutes every 10 minutes of the building here, which causes like a whining noise that you can hear and has been an issue for residents in the past. The proposal would seek to address those issues. This slide demonstrates building number 1, which has now been constructed, and for the purposes of this presentation, it just gives you an idea of the height, which is 21 metres to the tower, and then just under 14 minutes to these 2 arms here. And this will be the location of building 2. This demonstrates the elevations. So the questions are, why does building 2 have to be so big, and why have we got this current application? And that's because it would increase in size to accommodate more processes and machinery. So basically all those raw materials that are delivered by wagons could completely now pull in to building 2. And that would enable the shutter doors to be closed whilst the unloading could take place. So instead of roller shutter doors open 2 minutes every 10 minutes, they will be 2 minutes every 2 hours, which would see a significant reduction in the noise that is currently heard at the site. There's also been historical issues with emissions, including dust, and currently the vast amounts of heat, energy and steam that are wasted through that existing stack, which I can show you again through here, the new building would take that majority of that out. So the application will provide state-of-the-art facilities to address the issues, reduce pollutants and ultimately improve air quality. So the application is recommended for approval as per the report, with a small change to condition 9 as per the upstate sheet, which mentions building 1 and it should have been building 2. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thanks for your presentation, Catherine. We don't have any registered objectors or anyone in favour. We do have the ward councillor, Councillor Karen Walton. If you'd like to make your presentation, Councillor Walton, you have 4 minutes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, everyone. And thank you, Catherine, for your very detailed report. There has been a number of planning applications concerning the Heatherfield works, especially following the devastating effect of the fire in 2016 on the environment in the local areas, especially on Farrington Lodges. The proposal for the 2-phase approach development, with part 1 of the building and part 2 already being constructed and part 2 construction to improve operational processes. The proposal now is to retain building 1 and reduce its dimensions, and then amend and increase the size and siting of building 2 with an approximately 1 metre reduction in height of the building and a reduction of 0.8 metres in the reduction of height in the chimney stacks. Also improvements to the site with additional landscaping. Residents' responses over this proposal have included the concerns over the height and huge roof proposed by the construction of building 2, and which could go against policy 17 of the Lancashire strategic local plan and for the South Ribble local plan B1. Also, residents have concerns over the popular trees which are proposed to be planted, and the whips, which will take a long time to grow in order to reduce the visual impact of the building in the area. Residents also have responded that there has been an increase in dust and noise and traffic from the site during COVID, and I'm very familiar with this site and the concerns of the residents, especially with the environmental issues caused by the processing of the work. And sometimes the noise that's emitted from the processing is louder than the traffic from the nearby A582, and the smoke cloud emitted from the existing chimney is often very dark and grey, and there's also often a strong smell emitted from the stack. Another concern is that the landscaping between the site and Farrington Lodges from previous applications have appeared not to be have been taking place after construction of building 1. Also, environmental health required a more detailed information report on the equipment used and noise impact and exhaust stack information concerning this application. The proposal would address some of the residents' and environmental concerns, as building 1 is already in use, and the new building 2 would enable the existing chimney stack to be demolished and allow the process all to take place within the building. The noise and pollution report states that vast amounts of heat energy, as already been stated by Catherine, is lost through the existing stack, and the proposed development would reduce dust particles and noise emission from the site, which would improve conditions in respect of local residents concerned. This business is a well-established family-run business providing employment for up to about 45 members of staff. I fully support any investment in local businesses, but this all should not be to the detriment of the lives of its existing residents. I will be able to support the recommendation to approve the proposal with the conditions, but this site has had its problems in the past and must have careful monitoring of the conditions, which should resolve the impact and the concerns of local residents, especially in this environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Walton. You've had exactly 4 minutes. Well done. Okay, I also have Councillor Michael Green wishing to speak on this application, and he has every right to, because he is the neighbouring ward councillor. Councillor Green.
Thank you, Chairman. We meet again. Colleagues, I will support the comments that have very ably been put forward this evening by Councillor Karen Walton. This employer is a key local employer that's been in operation for the best part of a century now in the area, employing about 45 people, as Councillor Walton said. So it is a key employer, but nevertheless, they have caused certain problems for the residents over some considerable time. The application before us and the amendment which is proposed, it is a very large scale building, and it will indeed be visible from different aspects moving forwards. But nevertheless, on balance, I think it would allow there to be state-of-the-art facilities, and importantly, it would reduce pollutants and noise, which do have an impact upon residents in the local area and quite a wide area actually from there. And so I think on balance, this is an application which should be supported, but again, it's one which the council needs to look at and ensure that conditions are enforced moving forwards, so that we continue the employment of local residents and hopefully increasing in that number moving forwards. But equally, we protect residential amenity, which is so important in what is a semi-rural location. This isn't an industrial location by any way, shape or form. It's a very semi-rural location, so it's important to protect residents in the surrounding area. Thank you, Chairman and colleagues, and I'll leave it with you for consideration.
Okay, thanks for your presentation, Councillor Michael Green. Do we have Robert Rawlinson, the agent?
Good evening, Chair.
Good evening.
Committee.
Yeah, if you'd like to, you wanted to make a presentation, yes?
Yeah, only a brief one, thank you. Good evening, Chair, members of the committee. I'm the appointed planning consultant for Whitfire Shavings, who are the applicant to this pending application for the variation of condition number 27 for the approved plans, which was granted in April 2017. The amendments that are proposed by the applicant include the reduction in the dimensions to building 1, change of siting and dimensions to building 2, together with the improved landscaping scheme to the boundaries. I do not propose to reiterate the details in the case officer's report, as this has been comprehensively addressed, and I am available if you have any questions that you wish to ask concerning the proposal. I'd like to endorse that significant engagement has been undertaken concerning this proposal with the local planning authority, environmental health and tree officer, and this proposal to vary the planning permission granted in 2017 is an opportunity to address the long-standing residential amenity issues that have been raised by local residents at Heatherfield Works. Significant technical work has been undertaken by independent consultants, including noise, air quality, highways, flood risk, drainage and landscaping, that has informed the proposals put forward to you this evening. The scheme has been designed to specifically provide improvements to both noise emission and a reduction in dust particles leaving the site. And critically, we've been able to reach a stage where there are no objections from statutory consultees, including environmental health and tree officer. And the tree officer has confirmed that the landscaping proposals for the site, which seek to provide greater mitigation than the scheme already approved, is suitable. As a result of working together with the local planning authority, we are grateful to be in a position where planning officers are able to recommend approval subject to conditions. In conclusion, therefore, Whitfire Shavings are an important local family business and local employer who have been in operation for over 80 years. Having obtained the support of members and the council to redevelop the site in 2017 following the fire, the applicant has invested to date circa £7.5 million into a purpose-built state-of-the-art development. If the variation which is put forward to you is approved, the applicant is seeking to invest a further £5.5 million in constructing Building 2 and associated machinery. It will safeguard existing local jobs and would potentially generate additional local jobs in the future, whilst ensuring that the operations at the site are sustainable and addresses the concerns raised by the local residents. We respectfully ask that members support the approval of variation to condition 27. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Robert. Thanks for your presentation. Okay, I can open this up to committee now. Councillor Phil Smith.
Thank you, Chairman. I have to say I'm really happy to see this planning application come to this committee. I can remember back in 2007-8 or whatever it was that when I was a councillor for Farrington West at the time, representing not on the planning committee but supporting the residents at the time, arranging several meetings with the residents and the owners of this particular site. I think they filled this room up with about 50 or 60 people that all wanted to speak on it at the time, but we sort of got past all that, and gradually over the years they've very much improved their business practices on that site. It was particularly bad at one stage, but they have improved vastly their business practices. And it seems to me, from reading this report and reading the reports on online and looking at the type and style of the new up-to-date state-of-the-art equipment that's going in there, it will improve it hugely again. So I'm happy to see the report. I think it will be good for the community, it'd be good for the business, and I think it'd be good for South Ribble, to be quite honest, with the employment on the site. So I'd like to propose approval, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Smith. Councillor Will Adams.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Catherine. As a visual learner, those photographs on there were fabulous. And on obviously the report as well, which are very good. I agree with the sentiments that Councillor Smith said. I think the report outlines many of the concerns raised by local members and also residents have been taken into account. And due to this being applicant being a key employer and one which will be supporting the local economy even further by this application, if it is passed, I'm very happy to second approval, Chair. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Councillor Adams. Councillor Mary Green.
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's more a question than anything else I want to put, whether the applicant can help me on this. There's a section, page 72, section 18, and it's saying prior to the commencement of development, details of all external lighting equipment shall be submitted to be agreed in writing by the local planning authority. Now, and it goes on to state various types, the scheme shall include all these different types of lighting. Unless I'm missing something, I've not exactly seen from Catherine on the plan where the lighting is going, because I'm just conscious this high standard of lighting, high height of lighting could also be obtrusive to the nearby residents. I mean, there's 3 houses on Lodge View directly opposite the site of substantial houses, and I wouldn't like to think that this lighting is facing in their direction and obviously bothering their amenity, affecting their amenity by shining straight into their properties. I don't know if the applicant can give me some sort of, or the applicant's representative could give me some idea of where this high lighting is going to be installed, please, on that site. Thank you.
Robert Rowlandson as the agent, would you like to reply to that?
Certainly. Thank you, Councillor. I think if you just on the condition 18, as I read it, it is prior to the commencement of development, details of all external lighting equipment shall be submitted to and be agreed in writing with the local planning authority. So that is something that we need to, if approved, we need to submit that to the local planning authority. So that hasn't been agreed at this stage. So if this was approved, we would need to submit that information to the local planning authority and have a proper consultation engagement with the environmental health officer to ensure that it doesn't prejudice the residential amenity of the neighbours. And as you say, your point raised is a very important one, to ensure that we don't cause any problems with the neighbouring properties. So in answer to your question, that information hasn't been submitted yet. It does require to be submitted as part of a pre-commencement condition, if approved.
Right. Can I come back, Chair?
You can, Councillor Green.
Right, thank you. Could I then ask that is put in as a written condition, because I'm quite conscious I've got in my ward a large establishment which will remain unnamed, that's got lighting, essential lighting to carry on the business, but even if it's not direct, there's always a very large glare coming from that establishment, which, with it being so near to these residents across on Lodge View, would potentially bother them a lot. I mean, some of those properties have balconies where they can sit out, they've windows facing the site. Could I just ask if a condition could be put on that those lights are definitely installed pointing away from those properties and more pointing into the establishment for their use? What obviously they need lighting, but pointing definitely into the establishment rather than pointing outwards. If I could ask for that condition to be put on, please. Other than that, I think it's a great application because I'm aware of the problems people have had. I've been down there and there is always a strong smell of wood, and I know of people being bothered with dust all over the properties. So this will be an improvement. I have no objections other than that, but I'm just a little bit wary and worried about the lighting down there. If you could sort of look at that and put a condition on it, then I'd feel a lot happier. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Green. We do already have a condition on it, number 18, that says that they have to consult with us regarding the lighting, and that is there in the report. So, Councillor Smith, did you want to come in?
No, I'm quite happy with that, Chair. I think the officers of the council are responsible enough to make sure that lights are not shining into buildings, and I think the lighting consultant that they will have at the time will make sure that doesn't happen. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Flannery.
Thanks, Chair. First of all, another good report, so well done, Catherine. I'd just like to say Councillor Walton always articulates a point very fairly and very well on behalf of the residents, so well done, Councillor Walton. This is an existing site. You've got to consider that it's had fire damage, and if you look at the history of businesses which have had fire damage, they struggle to come back. So what you're seeing here is further investment from a family-owned business, creating lots of employment, addressing some of the issues in terms of the visualisation of the stack that's been incorporated into the redesign. So in terms of what I'm looking at here, the terminology in this report is right. There's a balance. There's always a balance when you've got business and residents, but there's an improved environmental sustainability proposal here. It looks like it's a good application. Once again, the agent, Robert, spoke well, and I'm also going to support the proposal. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Flannery. So we have had a proposal from Councillor Phil Smith for approval, the seconder Will Adams. Do I have any other proposals from committee members? No? Okay, in 1 minute we will go to the vote. We're just waiting for Councillor Adams. Okay, we'll go to the vote. Councillor Donoghue.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Flannery.
For.
Councillor Green.
For.
Councillor Hancock.
For, Chair.
Councillor Hesketh.
For.
Councillor Lomax. For. Councillor Amelia.
For.
Councillor Moon.
For.
Councillor Will Adams.
For.
Councillor Smith.
For.
Councillor Watson.
For, Chair.
And I am also in favour of the application. Alex, will you confirm the outcome of the vote, please?
Thank you, Chair. Members have voted unanimously to approve the application, subject to the conditions in the report.
Great. Okay, item number 13, LCC application, land at Lower Hall Farm, Potters Lane, Samlesbury. Catherine, if you'd like to present the item, please.
Thank you, Chair. The application has been submitted to Lancs County Council, as they have the statutory function to determine waste and mineral applications. And as the site's located within Samlesbury, South Ribble has been formally consulted on the scheme for their views. So the development is for the extraction of sand and gravel, including the construction of a new access road, new junction with the A59 Preston New Road, creation of plant site, weighbridge and stockpiling area, silt ponds, landscaping, including screen mounding, with progressive restoration to wetland and passive flood management facility, woodland and agriculture. The first slide demonstrates the site, which is identified with the red edge. That's the application boundary, and then the orange edge relates to the area of extraction together with the whole road that would be required for the vehicles to access the site. So it's located adjacent to the M6. There's Brockholes Nature Reserve, access points around here. Here's the whole road, and as you can see, it's right in the bend of the river, and this is the boundary of South Ribble. The next slide is an extract from the South Ribble policies map, and this is clearly to demonstrate the designations that are most affected by the proposal. So we've got a couple of public footpaths running along this area and together here, where the whole road would have to cross. And we've also got a number of biological heritage sites, Seed Park, the Wood by St Mary's Church and Samlesbury Wood. The site is also the subject of the green belt and is also subject to flood zone 2 and 3. And this just demonstrates in a little bit more detail the actual application site in relation to the River Ribble and the residential properties. So Lower Hall Farm is located here, right adjacent to the application site. We've got Bezerbrook Nurseries, Seed House, and there's a couple of residential properties here, and then Bezer House up from, I think it's Dean Lane. This slide I've put on because this just demonstrates the initial site to be set up on the quarry floor. So the application involves the extraction of around 3 million tonnes of sand and gravel, and then the new access road together with the restoration. So this is Lower Hall Farm that we'd seen previously, together with Bezerbrook Nursery and the other residential property here. And what they're seeking to do is provide for the whole road, and then this will be the first part, phase 1, which will be stripped, and then they would construct a acoustic mound that will be a height of 8 metres in totality, to help stop any noise impacting on some of the residential properties that are located here. This section AA, which you can see at the top of the site, demonstrates the 8 metre high bund together with the new tree screen planting, and then you've got Bezerbrook, so that's taken at this aspect. And then for the section BB here, we've got the temporary bund, pathway, and there's a 60 metre wide tree screen that would have to be planted up. And this demonstrates the final restoration. So what they would hope to do is provide for a wetland, which would also act as a passive area to store water, but there will be no public access. And then we will get parts of planting along the boundaries together within the wetland area, and more importantly, adjacent to some of the residential properties. The issues are, we've had 3 letters of objection and concerns. These have been received and been forwarded to Lancs County Council, and they raise a number of issues that are set up on the update sheet, and these include the impact upon wildlife, protected species, the impact upon local highway network, concern about the quality of the mineral that would be extracted, the quality and timings of some of the surveys. The applicant has submitted a number of documents, including an environmental statement, planning statement, mineral analysis and ecological surveys again. And this next slide just demonstrates at different viewpoints how the site would be developed. So if we look at the top one, there's a line along here that demonstrates the 4 metre high screen bund with the new tree planting that would have to be planted in order to mitigate. And what we have here is the Lower Hall Farm, and this is the ribble that snakes around the site. Viewpoint 23 is above but with the established trees, and it's got to be acknowledged that the site, if it was granted consent, would be extracted over a period of 20 years, in which case the applicant has provided these visuals to try to demonstrate that it would ultimately be screened. And then again, we've got the application viewpoints from 24 with the hedges, the right of way south of Beza House, which we saw on one of the previous plans, which demonstrates the 4 metre high screen bund, and the bottom one again demonstrates how it would look once we've got to phase 5 with the tree planting. So what are the key issues? I think the key ones are set out in the report in terms of the impact on residential amenity and the local environment, and what we're being asked for is our views. So is there a need for the mineral, and what is the status of the Lancs County Council local plan in assessing that? So under the Waste and Mineral Local Plan, Policy M1, Managing Mineral Production, identifies that development will not be supported for any new extraction of sand and gravel, limestone, gritstone or brick shale. However, the agent argues that the end of the plan period is this year, and therefore there is this need for the mineral. So on that basis, the recommendation in the report is written: if the County Council are satisfied there's a need for the mineral, consideration is given to the imposition of conditions to protect the residential amenity and the local environment. And the Environmental Health Officer have been to the site and have suggested those conditions that are attached to the report. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thanks for your presentation, Catherine. Okay, we have 3 members of the public wishing to speak in objection to this application. First, we have a Mrs. Stephanie Tuft.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Stephanie Tuft and I live at the Brambles on Potters Lane, the closest private residential property to the proposed development. We challenge claims made by the developer that this site will produce 3 million tonnes of mineral and the claimed high quality sand. This was not the opinion of Tilcon, the original developers at Brockholes. A planning inspector's report written in 1991 for the Secretary of State for the Environment stated, test borings have been made at Lower Hall Farm. While there are sand and gravel deposits under this land, they were found to be very silty. The overburden ratio was found to be adverse and extraction from there has been rejected as uneconomic. If Tilcon had believed that they could extract this volume of mineral, doubling the yield that they were proposing from Brockholes, then they would most certainly have pursued the development of Lower Hall Farm. The cost to do this would have been far more economical for Tilcon than it will be for Harleyford, with infrastructure already in place and by conveying the mineral across the river. No access road would have been required. Indeed, this was exactly the fear that South Ribble Borough Council expressed when objecting to Brockholes at the time. You were worried that approving Brockholes would set a precedent and extraction would creep from meander to meander up the river. And you were right to be worried because that was clearly Tilcon's exact plan. Tilcon's assessment of Lower Hall Farm contradicts entirely the claims made by Harleyford regarding the quality and quantity of sand and gravel. Harleyford's report cannot be trusted. It claims drilling was conducted in 2008, but the report is dated 2011 and states that amendments were made in 2013, but the report fails to state what they were. The actual narrative report is missing from these papers that goes straight from the front cover to appendices. A proposed development of this enormity must not be approved on the basis of this woefully inadequate report, especially given the Tilcom findings. Not only are the reports themselves unreliable and outdated, but the developer, Harleyford Aggregates, financial stability is questionable, and therefore their capacity to undertake a development of such significance is questionable. Their accounts are overdue at Companies House, and the most recent ones, dated 2018 to 19, that's pre-pandemic, include this statement from the auditor. Material uncertainty exists that may cast significant doubt on the group's ability to continue as a going concern. Why should residents suffer the consequences of a potentially failed development or one that takes years to get started due to lack of funds? Proposals to protect residents and others from the view and noise of this industrial scale development include the erection of 8-metre high bunds. Aside from the quarry, the bunds themselves will create a huge, hideous eyesore 250 metres from the front and side of our home for the next 20 years. Harleyford Aggregates' own report states that the development will dominate the landscape and deplete the rural tranquility in the area. We contend that this proposal is not compliant with the National Planning Policy Framework by harming and not preserving the openness of this greenbelt area. We urge you to view this beautiful landscape and consider the consequences of its loss and conclude that this proposal will not preserve its openness. We don't know whether LCC have a need for sand and gravel, but we do know that this proposal does not evidence that this mineral exists at this site. And even if it does, the proposal does not go anywhere near far enough to protect residents from the environmental impact. We urge you to object to this proposal. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for your presentation. Do we have a Mr. Chris Barron?
Yes, hi. Thank you, Chair, and good evening, committee. Just to follow up, there's a lot of echo on the line. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'll take that as a yes. Okay, so following up, I'm Chris Barron. I live at Button Oak, which is just a little bit further up Dean Lane, about 400 metres from the proposed development. I would like to raise the objection on two counts. So firstly, the lane, Potter's Lane, is where the proposed development is planned, is a haven of tranquility and an amenity to many, not just the local residents. People come, we get 100, 150 members of the public that come down and enjoy the tranquility of the lane. It's also part of South Ribble's cycle path route to BAE and is enjoyed by cyclists, and this development will severely impact the amenity to the public. Secondly, I want to raise an objection following on from the comment Stephanie has made around the quality of the submission. So look, I realise I'm a realist, and I realise that sand and gravel is needed to build homes, build roads, and is vital to construction. But there are severe doubts over the validity of the need case, and secondly, the quality of the product that's there. The submission that has been put in the planning application is woefully inadequate. Again, wildlife and ecology in this particular area is rich. The ecological surveys are completely out of date. They go back to 2017, so they are completely inadequate to support this application. The area is rich in archaeology. I work in the gas industry and pipelines, and we constructed a pipeline from Salisbury to Helmshire a few years ago, and we did extensive archaeological investigations in the area and found it to be extremely rich in archaeology. The archaeological study didn't even do the basics that we would expect them to do in field walking. They said they couldn't access the land. So look, I have faith that that common sense will prevail here, and you will reject this planning application for what it is, a very poor, rushed through, inadequate submission. And as with Stephanie, I urge you to reject the application.
Okay, thanks for that, Mr. Barron. Do we have a Mr. Graham Young? Mr. Young, it appears you're muted. If you'd like to unmute your microphone.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. If you'd like to make your presentation, you've got 4 minutes, okay?
Good evening. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Committee, and good evening. My name is Graham Young. I am the current chairman of Samlesbury and Curedale Parish Council. During my time as chairman, this is the second time this has come before the Planning Committee of the Parish Council. 3 years ago, the agent for this application brought a woeful application to Samlesbury War Memorial Hall. When challenged about the validity of some of the geological surveys, it turns out some of the surveys were conducted by people who weren't even qualified to do them. So after reading through those last time, he didn't even submit his planning application in. That aside, the safe cycle path that was paid for by Sustran 5 years ago was supposed to be a safe cycle path for British Aerospace. Sustran and the government put in £500,000 to make it a nice area so people can enjoy this green belt that we've got down here, a green haven. Lancashire County Council has started a flood defence scheme to try and stop Samlesbury, Higher Walton from flooding, which is currently underway. This is going to seriously affect that. As a parish council, we've conducted a speed survey with a HGV company to work out how long it would take wagons to access the third lane to get back round to travel back down to the M6. It would take from a standing start with a bigger wagon, what they're talking about taking out there, which is the standard wagon used on an operation like this, is a 10 brake horsepower per tonne wagon. We conducted one with a 15.36 brake horsepower, and it took 42 seconds to get to the split lane, at which time it was only travelling 34 miles an hour. This, we feel, on a motorway, on a link to the motorway, is a really dangerous additive, especially with the new enterprise zone that we've got working at Samlesbury. The silt, as alluded to by Stephanie and Chris in the Tilcon report, is, as anybody would know, that in a fast-moving river, the sand and gravel and alluvium is left on the fast-running side, which was the Brockhall side of the river, and the silt is deposited behind the speed of the river. On a slow-moving waterway, it would cause like a horseshoe bend. But on this, because of this river, it's just deposited all the silt on Lower Hall. The Lancashire Badger Trust, who were consulted 3 years ago in the application, on this one haven't been consulted because they said it was a valuable area for badgers in Lancashire. They used that to train their operational staff how to trap badgers, how to safely handle badgers. So they were very concerned that they hadn't been consulted. The surveys, as previously mentioned by Chris and Stephanie, are out to date, which again leads to, if you're going to do a traffic survey, when COVID's on, this year would be the perfect time to do a traffic survey. Yeah, I'd like to leave it there. So thank you very much, and I hope your consideration will be for refusal of this application. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Young. Okay. Councillor Barry Yates, the ward councillor.
Right, thank you, Chairman. Good evening to you, Chairman, and to the committee. I'm one of the South Ribble councillors for Sainsbury and also the Lancashire County Council for South Ribble East. Unfortunately, I cannot speak tonight on this application at the moment, as I am Chairman of the Lancashire County Council Development Control Committee that will be dealing with this application. But I have joined your meeting tonight so that I can listen to any concerns that the committee, councillors, residents or the applicant may have, so that I can take them into consideration when the application comes before the Development Control Committee at County Hall. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Peter Mullinor, did you want to speak on this application?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm the other councillor responsible for this area, and with your indulgence, Chair, I'd just like to give you a little history of Lower Hall Farm in Samlesbury, just for the information for yourself and for the committee. I appreciate I've not got a lot of time, so I'll move pretty quickly with it, if that's all right. The hall is a Grade 2 listed building, and it's particularly important for more than a special interest to the area. The first hall on the site was Gospatrick's Timber House, built in the 11th century, and the courtyard of which was surrounded by a strong wall to keep out invaders. Samlesbury Lower Hall and its gardens are still evident here, which only serves to enhance its importance to South Ribble and all of England. In around 10 BC, the Romans had a fort on the bend in the river that remains, and remains of the road can still be seen. In 1322, Robert the Bruce invaded the surrounding area, plundering the treasures of Lower Hall and St Leonard's the Less Church, leaving the hall in flames. Oliver Cromwell's Battle of Preston took place in the area, and Cromwell's dead were buried in the ancient woodlands in and around Lower Hall. And it just shows what importance this area is to South Ribble and to England. The fact is that Lower Hall Farm is a tenanted farm. It's private and has been farmed by the same family for over 90 years, and a practice practice that could be curtailed forever if this goes ahead. This area was the advantage of being a true haven for wildlife, which has been mentioned previously, with lots of species including badgers, owls, bats and great crested newts, which would all be threatened if this was to take place. The planned new road, which would enter off the A59 just east of the Catholic Church, that's going to cross through ancient woodland and across two public footpaths, a river and a 32-inch gas main pipe, all of which will disseminate the green belt that we so richly want to preserve. Heavy goods vehicles will have to come out onto the A59 from a standing start in a very difficult position on the hill, eventually having to cross over 4 lanes of traffic before coming back down the motorway, which is really just an accident waiting to happen. This is not what the residents of the area want. It's certainly not what I want as the local councillor for the area, and therefore I ask the committee to strongly object to this application to preserve our green belt and the history that lies under and around this area. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Mullinor, for your presentation. I don't have the applicants or the applicant's agent here this evening, so I'll just open this up to committee. Councillor Flannery.
Thanks, Chair. Okay, first of all, well done to the residents. They prepared a compelling case against and spoke very well, so well done to them. Reading through the information and the reports we have in front of us, I've got some concerns here, and seeing things like terminology like not considered adequate in terms of the noise, dust, little mention of the impacts of the dust, air quality does not follow the South Ribble and county-wide published emission strategy. There's a lot of inconsistencies in what I'm reading, what I'm seeing here. So if we're here to seek some resolution, I'm minded to not approve this application. Thanks, Chair.
Councillor Phil Smith.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. We have some documents here which are headed internal consultation. I guess this is, if Catherine could just outline, first of all, what that actually means. Obviously, I've read the report and I've read the internal consultation, but if you could just outline what that actually means before I speak, and I would obviously like to come back straight after. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor. It's headed internal consultation because on applications like this we would consult the Environmental Health Officer, and it's an internal response from the Environmental Health Officer. So it's not confidential, and often these consultation reports like this are put on our web pages for our own applications as well that we deal with.
Okay, Councillor Smith, would you like to come back?
Yes, thank you, Catherine. I'm very uneasy with this application, I have to say, very uneasy with it. Maybe I haven't done enough sort of digging in the sand, but and haven't got enough information to hand, but and maybe I just haven't done what I should have done as a committee member. But having read the report in detail and can listen to what has been put forward, I have serious concerns about out-of-date reports, serious concerns about the greenbelt. I mean, the aggregate that you get and the sand you get from these areas is really important, but nevertheless, when it impacts severely on such a important area of South Ribble itself within Greenbelt, there's no mention of the impact across the river on the environmental area. There's no mention of that, I don't think, anywhere, not that I've seen. So I have a great deal of difficulty. I won't be supporting this, Chair, at all.
Okay, so are you seconding?
I will second whatever Councillor Flannery said, yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Smith. Councillor Will Adams.
Thank you, Chair. I was going to second it myself. I just don't think there's enough detail in there for us. I don't think the applicant has provided sufficient information. I think it's lacking. I think the residents have quite rightly raised significant concerns, and for me those concerns haven't been mitigated, or certainly there's no evidence to state that they have been mitigated. So I will support refusal for that application. Thank you.
Councillor Lomax.
Yeah, I'd just like to say congratulations to the residents. That was really well put. Just in thinking about dust, air quality and transport, I would not be happy for this. I did walk past the area last year, and it's a mighty fine looking place. No, I can't support this.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Lomax. Councillor Mary Green.
Yeah, I just feel that in that area, it's an area of outstanding beauty with brockholes. It's an absolutely wonderful area for nature, wildlife, walks, and for the enjoyment of everyone around, for miles around, not only for local residents. I'm also conscious of the fact often those fields around brockholes are flooded, and I'm just concerned that this change in landscape, the change to the structure of the land, how it could impact on this flooding. And also we're all aware with the quarry that dust and pollutants can travel quite a long distance away from the actual quarry and bother residents, even if they're not exactly next to it, it can still affect them. So I feel that I'm totally against this application. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Green. Councillor Moon.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just ask, let me just take my hand down and I don't forget that bit. Can I just ask, my understanding of this document is that We're not the planning authority, Lancashire County Council are, and we're just being asked for our views on it, almost like a consultee in this process. Can I just check that my understanding is right on that? And if it is, then this, for me, is it not a case that we're not approving or rejecting this? We need to put forward back to the County Council our views, which to me is captured in the recommendation, because our officers are saying to us we're not happy, and we're not happy with what they're not happy with, and that would support, sorry, I've got an echo, but that would support the comments that the residents have made. Maybe we need to make sure we've captured everything that the residents said, because they did say it very eloquently, and our concerns as a committee. But that would be my understanding. It's not a reject or approve position. It's a make sure we've said everything we want to say to the planning authority, which is Lancashire. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah, you're welcome, Councillor Moon. That's my view on this as well. Either Jonathan or Stephen, they're fighting each other to come in on this one.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just to clarify that point, we are not the determining authority for this. It is the County Council. But we are a statutory consultee on it. So we can't determine the application with a refusal. So I think what members are aiming at is basically Southwold Council would object to this application and ask County Council to refuse it, and highlight the concerns in the response, and we can draft a fairly detailed letter in that regard based on the comments we've heard this evening, and obviously we can perhaps agree that with Chair the final word in the letter.
Thanks, Jonathan. Councillor Flannery.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I understand that, and I think it's important that these meetings are minuted. But I think there's a bigger point for us. As Councillor Moons pointed out, it's about our message, and we said at the beginning of the resolution. But the message for me is, in terms of, you've got our residents in our borough prepared to put time and effort to represent themselves here tonight. But the agent and the applicant are not here tonight. So, yeah, I agree in terms of our resolution is, and whether the terminology is semantics, whether it's we're approving or not approving, I think it's important that our residents know that we're with them on big issues like this. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Flannery. Any other members on committee wishing to speak on this? Okay, that's the end of the debate then. We'll go to the vote. Alex, can you tell us what we're voting on?
Well, I've not actually heard a member yet propose a motion along the lines of something that Jonathan said. Perhaps a member might consider something like officers are delegated the task of drafting an objection to be submitted to LCC to reflect members' concerns tonight, where those concerns are material planning considerations. I don't know if Jonathan wanted to comment on a motion along those lines.
Go on, Jonathan.
Yeah, something along those lines would be fine, and I guess it'd be delegated to officers in consultation with the chair on the final wording, perhaps.
Yeah, I'll be happy with that. Okay, so let's go to the vote then. Councillor Will Adams.
4. That is, 4 for the motion that's been proposed in terms of officers liaising with yourself, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillor Donoghue.
Well, I'm not sure either, but I'm going to say I'm going with everybody else.
We were at the end of the debate, but Councillor Smith has intimated he wants to jump in, and actually I'm going to be forgiving and let him.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, this is such a really significant application in the sort of the history of South Ribble and going forward. Would it be appropriate for officers to bring something back to the next meeting for us to look at and defer this application so we get the exact words right first time? I don't know whether there are any timescales difficulties there, but then we might be able to get them correct.
I'll bring in Stephen here.
Yeah, I mean, the danger is the county council have given us a specified date in which to get our views back, and technically they could make the decision and ignore them if we defer to a future meeting. Having said that, I would imagine something of this scale will take a number of months to process, but there's always the danger that we miss the boat effectively.
So in that case, I suggest we get it done and dusted tonight. Councillor Flannery?
I agree, but can I just make it clear that what we're voting on again, because Councillor Adams always has a difficult task of going first, and we just want to make it clear that we are against this, and are we voting for the motion against?
Yes, that is what we're voting for. We're voting for the motion that we're against it. Okay, Councillor Donoghue?
Right, well, I'm for the motion then.
Councillor Flannery?
Yeah, for the motion.
Councillor Mrs Green?
For the motion that's against.
Councillor Hancock?
For the motion, Chair.
Councillor Hesketh?
For the motion, Chair.
Councillor Lomax?
For.
Councillor Amelia?
For the motion.
Councillor Moon?
For.
Councillor Smith?
For.
Councillor Watson?
For, Chair.
What are we voting on again? Okay, I'm also for the motion. Alex, will you confirm the outcome of the vote, please?
Thank you, Chair. Members have voted unanimously to delegate to planning officers the task, in consultation with Chair and Vice Chair, to draft objections to be submitted to Lancashire County Council to reflect the concerns expressed by members at committee tonight, where such concerns are material planning considerations.
That's wonderful. Thanks very much for that. I'm going to close the meeting and look forward to seeing you all in person next month, unless there is considerable movement at central government. We will not be able to have a hybrid meeting. Okay, so thanks for attending this evening. Lovely to see the people who are here. Good night.